Welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets, the place where whispers turn into stories and stories turn into the moments you can't stop thinking about. Take a breath, because tonight we're stepping into a tale that blends red carpet spark with quiet corners, glances that say too much, and a love that doesn't shout to be heard. The headline lighting up your feed says it all: Barış Arduç and Elçin Sengu, secrets unveiled, and a romance that stunned even those who thought they'd seen it all. If you crave twists so soft they feel like secrets and turns so bold they feel like confessions, you found your next obsession. Before we wade deeper, a little context. Barış isn't just a leading man, he's the kind of presence that fills a room even before he steps into it. He learned how to turn stillness into magnetism, how to make one raised eyebrow speak louder than a page of dialogue. Roles that demanded grit, roles that demanded charm, he's held them all without flinching. Elçin, meanwhile, carries a different kind of electricity. She has a laugh that lingers and eyes that flicker with mischief when the camera isn't looking. When she moves, the energy around her seems to gather, curious, wanting to see where she'll go next. Together, they've always stirred the air, with art, with chemistry, and now, perhaps, with something far more delicate and far more daring. You remember how it began. Not as a declaration, not as a staged reveal, but as a murmur. A photo where their silhouettes seemed closer than coincidence. A clip where a shared smile lasted a heartbeat too long. A question from an interviewer answered with a shrug and a sparkle, a reply that felt like a dare and a promise in the same breath. Most dismissed it then. Most said, no, it's just lighting, just angles, just fans reading poetry between ordinary lines. But the thing about truth is that it never hurries and it never shouts. It simply waits to be noticed, and then it refuses to be forgotten. We've listened. We've asked. We've learned from those who see them when cameras are down and from those who hear the echoes when the music fades. What we found isn't scandal dressed for the stage, it's the quiet anatomy of a secret that guarded itself carefully, a bond tested in private, a tenderness chosen over spectacle, and a path charted through a landscape that does not forgive softness. Why did they guard it? Because some loves are carved in quieter rooms, where candor matters more than applause and where a promise means more when no one is watching. Their world is measured in headlines, but their hearts are not. Think back to those early days. They were learning each other's rhythms, how sarcasm could be a shelter, how honesty could be a risk, how the simplest joke could be a bridge on a long day. There were weeks when they were hardly seen together and weeks when a shared frame carried the weight of an unsaid confession. There were premieres where their paths crossed like constellations catching fire for a second, and rehearsals where a glance landed and refused to leave. One step forward, one step back, a dance of patience and caution, not indecision, but defense, because what is fragile is not the same as what is weak. Curiosity keeps asking. What are these secrets we keep hearing about? The answers aren't fireworks, they are candlelight. A meeting that didn't begin as legend but felt like fate anyway. A conversation that started with a joke about timing and ended with the kind of silence you only share with someone who has become part of your breath. A ritual of early messages sent when the city is still asleep. A habit of walking when everyone else wants to drive, of stealing 10 minutes from chaos and returning them to each other like a gift. There is talk of a shared notebook where they write lines that belong to nobody else, of playlists made for mornings when scripts won't cooperate and nights when applause won't let them sleep. There were obstacles, of course. The industry loves a fairy tale but punishes human truth. Expectations are heavy, comparisons are lazy and loud. There were days when a headline tried to turn their warmth into a stunt and nights when a rumor tried to flatten their laughter into a strategy. Balancing private tenderness with public curiosity is a high wire with no net. Yet if you watched closely, you saw their choice, again and again, to protect the slow-burning parts. To slip out the side door instead of strolling down a spotlighted staircase. To turn a dinner into a memory rather than a spectacle. To let their connection be fluent in whispers rather than cries. What surprises us most isn't the spark, everyone saw that, it's the way the spark endured without a parade. How quickly it deepened when it had room to breathe. How they showed up for each other not with trumpets but with small, steady gestures. When a schedule broke, someone fixed the day with coffee on a doorstep. When a role demanded more courage than usual, someone sent a message that said, "I know the cost, take my strength." When an interview veered too close to the line, a hand met a hand below the table, a silent signal that said, "I'm right here." It's not the drama that's thrilling, it's the discipline. It's the way even a hush can be loud when love knows what it's doing. Here's another layer. Their careers did not pause to accommodate romance, instead, their connection seemed to sharpen both their edges. Scenes filmed after long days carried an extra color. Lines once delivered like craft now fell like confessions. It wasn't about exploiting attention, it was about showing up with a fuller heart. Critics noticed a gravity that didn't read as rehearsed. Audiences felt a warmth that didn't feel manufactured. Projects thrummed with a pulse you can't fake, the calm that comes when someone believes in you, the bravery that comes when someone steadies you, the joy that leaks into the work when life off camera is tender and brave. Some will say it's timing. Some will say it's destiny. Maybe it's both, stitched by choice. We've pieced together the outline, how they built boundaries that moved with them, how they kept public moments short and private moments true. How loyalty became a verb. How honesty, even when inconvenient, became their currency. One person close to them told us that promises weren't made like speeches, they were made like daily habits. Another said the arguments, when they came, were never for show and never for winning, only for understanding. And if you've ever loved anyone across the noise of 1,000 opinions, you know exactly why that matters. It isn't all glow. There were stretches where distance pushed them into different cities, where silence felt less like peace and more like weather. There were days when the crowd was too loud, when praise felt like pressure, when the weight of being adored threatened to bend what was delicate. But then came the quiet rescues, a brief visit stolen between flights, a phone call made at the wrong hour because it was the right moment, an inside joke dropped like a life raft. These are the repairs that never make the front page and mean everything anyway. These are the moments that turned a rumor into a resolve and a crush into a covenant. So what, exactly, has been revealed? Enough to trace the shape of their devotion without taking what isn't ours. Enough to understand how two people can be everywhere and still keep the one thing that matters somewhere safe. The secret isn't scandal, it's stewardship. The surprise isn't that they fell for each other, it's that they built a harbor in a storm that never calls a truce. Love did not make them louder, it made them truer. And in an industry that sells volume, truth is the rarest currency of all. Don't underestimate what this has done to their art. The risks feel braver now, the choices more precise. New collaborations seem to catch the light from more angles, as if they've learned to see in colors the rest of us haven't named yet. Their work glows not because love is a shortcut, but because love is a discipline, a daily act of attention that leaks into everything you do. Watch them on set. The patience, the humor, the calibration. Listen to their interviews, fewer evasions, more grace. You can sense that they've found a way to make ambition kinder without making it smaller, to chase what matters without losing what matters more. If we had to summarize, we'd say this: Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu have mapped a delicate geography between fame and feeling, marking off the corners they won't surrender and tending the fire they refuse to parade. They didn't make a spectacle of beginnings, they made a sanctuary of continuance. They let the story ripen before sharing the fruit. They've endured the heavy weather and learned how to travel lightly. And because of that, we aren't just watching two careers grow, we're watching a duet learn how to breathe. Now it's your turn to read the room with us. What surprised you most about the way their story moved, from suspicion to certainty, from hints to something closer to truth? Was it the restraint that charmed you, the way they turned down the volume when the world wanted noise? Or was it the small rebellions, the private rituals, the unphotographed moments, that made you believe in a romance that can outlast the headline cycle? Drop your thoughts below and tell us the moment you knew, the look, the sentence, the shared silence that felt like a vow whispered to anyone who cared to listen closely. And of course, if this deep dive into their orbit made your heart race a little, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video so more people find their way to this corner of warmth. Share it with friends who love stories that feel like secrets and with skeptics who say real tenderness can't live in the spotlight. Hit subscribe and tap the bell, because Turkish Spotlight Secrets is only getting started. More context, more nuance, more softly told revelations that make the world of showbiz feel human again. We'll be here, watching the lights, listening for the truth beneath the roar, and bringing it to you with the care it deserves. And until the next time we press play, remember, some romances flash, others glow. What we've seen between Barış and Elçin is a glow that doesn't need permission. It survives the cameras and ignores the clock. It was built to last, not to trend. And in a world that confuses volume with value, that might be the bravest secret of all.